Hello everyone, welcome back. This time we're going to talk about episode 5 and 6 of Beyond the Bar, two episodes that truly highlight Hyo-min's development as a young lawyer. Episode 5 begins with a meeting full of wounds. Suk-hun comes face to face again with his ex-wife. Suk-hun's expression clearly shows how disappointed and broken his heart is. With a trembling voice, he can only say, "How could you be so cruel?" But the answer he receives shatters his heart even more. "How could I have a baby with Jun when I told you I didn't want one with you?"
마음이 바뀌었어.
She continues, saying that when she entered her 30s, her view of having children changed. Those words pierce Suk-hun deeply. But the wound becomes even worse when his ex adds something far more painful. With a flat gaze, she says, "I'm sure you would have been a good father too. If you had stayed by my side, this might have been your baby." That moment is a hard blow for Suk-hun, a statement that not only touches on their past, but also revives all the regrets and wounds he has tried to bury. On the other hand, Hyo-min begins to face a huge challenge. She is asked to help with a copyright infringement case, and without hesitation immediately takes it, even though the verdict is scheduled for that very day. Luckily, she manages to delay the decision, but is only given a week before the next trial. The problem is, she does it without her senior's permission. Her senior is clearly angry, especially when Hyo-min insists on taking the case as pro bono. The case eventually comes to Suk-hun, but instead of helping her fully, Suk-hun challenges Hyo-min to prepare her own defense and take responsibility for the outcome.
변론 준비도 알아서 하고 결과에 책임도 지고 나가보세요.
When the trial begins, Hyo-min tries to be confident. She presents evidence that her client's painting was made earlier. However, everything falls apart when the cross-examination starts. Her questions are easily answered by the plaintiff, making her look like an amateur lawyer. Worse, when she examines her own client, the pressure makes the client panic and run into her mother's arms. It is then revealed that Hyo-min's client actually has a disability. Although physically 21, her mind is like that of a 13-year-old child. The pressure on Hyo-min grows even heavier, and Suk-hun tells her to stay calm and instructs her to cite the health condition as a reason to end the trial.
건강 문제로 신문이 어려울 것 같다고 말하세요.
The opposing side disagrees with that argument, turning it into a big opportunity. The opposing lawyer manages to pressure the defendant and forces him to admit that he replicated the plaintiff's Fiesta painting. Meanwhile, Hyo-min is unable to defend herself. She freezes, almost collapsing after the cross-examination of her client. But right at her lowest point, Hyo-min remembers Suk-hun's advice.
선입견을 걷어내고 본질을 봐요.
After asking for a recess, she calms herself down and tries to focus on the core issue. When the trial resumes, she asks the plaintiff a simple yet sharp question.
혹시 그 안에 숨겨진 다른 이미지는 없나요?
The plaintiff's firm answer, "No," actually opens a huge gap. When it's her client's turn to testify, Hyo-min gently asks about the painting Fiesta. "What is this painting?" Her client quietly answers that it is his father. At first, it sounds doubtful, since the painting shows no face at all. But when lit with light, the father's face appears, hidden beneath the strokes. Authentic proof that the work truly belongs to her client. This fact defeats the plaintiff, who had previously denied the existence of any hidden image in his work. In the end, the case is won. Hyo-min successfully passes her first big test, though it is filled with wounds, tears, and moments of near surrender. Even Suk-hun, who is usually cold, finally acknowledges her ability and calls her attorney calm.
강효민 변호사.
A small moment, but one of great meaning, a sign of the birth of a true lawyer. Episode 6 takes us into a legal case that is so complex, full of moral dilemmas, and heavy with emotion. Even the title is weighty. Love is an impairment, a phrase that immediately makes us ask, how can love, something considered sacred, become a weakness, even an impairment in making decisions? The story begins when Hyo-min receives a young female client who comes with her body covered in wounds. These wounds are not from an accident, but from sadomasochistic practices with her ex-boyfriend, a man named Jung Han-suk. The problem is, before all of that happened, the client had signed a consent form. From a legal standpoint, the case seems clear, there was consent. But Hyo-min cannot stop thinking about how her client was truly hurt, both physically and psychologically. This is where the drama becomes more compelling. Hyo-min's argument is very bold and controversial. She says that the signature is not entirely valid because it was given under conditions where love was used as a tool of manipulation.
사랑도 심신미약이라고 주장해 볼 수 있는 거 아닌가요?
For her, love can be an impairment, a disturbance that makes someone lose rationality when making decisions. This statement immediately triggers debate, even within the law firm where she works. Meanwhile, at Yulm Law Firm, the atmosphere also heats up. Nayeon, who has just been promoted to chairwoman, faces resistance from senior partners. There is a tug-of-war of interests, a lack of trust in her decisions. This internal conflict runs parallel to Hyo-min's case. As if to emphasize one thing, whether in love or in office politics, power and emotions can be equally dangerous. And in the end, this case does not conclude with a dramatic verdict like we often see in other legal dramas. Instead, there is a peaceful settlement. Hyo-min's client agrees to sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. However, what's interesting is that the compensation she receives only covers medical and legal expenses. No excessive demands, no desire to enrich herself. All of this feels very realistic, and at the same time touching, because the client only wants simple justice, to be acknowledged as a victim. This episode closes with a quiet scene, full of reflection. There are no applause of victory, no cheers. What remains is only a bitter feeling that the law cannot always bring complete happiness, but at least it can provide a little space to heal. And interestingly, even though this episode feels heavy, viewers are actually bound to this story full of gray nuances. As proof, the rating for episode 6 reached 7.7%, a fairly high number for a legal drama with such a weighty theme. Its title, Love is an Impairment, becomes a symbol that in real life, love truly can make people blind, even to the point of sacrificing body and soul.